Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We always try to tailor these specifically to you guys, the listeners.
Absolutely.
So today we thought we would take a look at the invention of the piano.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and we found a couple sources that talk about the early history of the piano and really kind of the sound of the first piano.
Right.
And so our mission for today is really to go back to that moment when this instrument was first created and try to understand its significance.
Yeah.
Just how big of a deal was this? Have you ever stopped to think about like the revolutionary moment when the piano came into being?
It's one of those things you don't think about very often, but
Right. Like we all, we've grown up with pianos and stuff, but to go back to that moment and think about like, wow, this was a new thing.
yeah, somebody had to do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
So the guy who's credited with this monumental creation was Bartolomeo Cristofori.
Okay.
And the oldest surviving piano that we have is from 1720. So that's our starting point. 1720, Bartolomeo Cristofori.
Amazing. So it's like a tangible link to that pivotal moment in musical history.
Right.
That's incredible. And you can actually see it. If you're in New York City, it's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met.
Oh, wow.
You can go there and see this piano. It's in Gallery 684.
Wow. So this instrument, the first piano, still exists today.
It does. The actual first surviving piano from 1720. It even has its original name.
Oh, really? What was it?
Gravicembalo col piano e forte.
Gravicembalo col piano forte.
Yeah, it means harpsichord with soft and loud, literally.
Oh, interesting.
Its session number at the Met is 89.4.1219. You can actually go to the Met's website. They have a listing for it with, I think, even some pictures of it.
Oh, wow. Harpsichord with soft and loud. I mean, that name in and of itself seeks volumes, right?
It does. It hints at the revolutionary nature of the instrument, the reason it was invented in the first place.
Right. So before we get to the why, let's talk about what it sounded like. I mean, I think of like, modern pianos, these big concert grands.
Huge.
Yeah, just huge, powerful instruments. I'm guessing it didn't sound like that.
Yeah, you're right. This 1720 piano is actually described as much softer and more delicate than a modern piano. Almost like, it bridges the gap, right, between the harpsichord,
Okay.
which was the plucked sound,
Right.
plucked strings,
Right.
and then the modern piano. So it's somewhere in between, like a sonic bridge, sort of, between those two instruments. It's described as more intimate and nuanced in tone.
That's really fascinating. It makes you wonder what it must have been like to hear that for the first time. I'm so curious to actually hear it. I mean, is there any way to...
There is.
Oh, okay.
There are recordings of it. The Met, they have a video on their YouTube channel, the Met Cristofori Piano in Performance.
Okay.
It's about a 7-minute video, and it features a musician, an early music specialist named Dong-Sok Shin.
Oh, I'm going to check that out for sure.
Yeah. And the Met's website has even more resources. They have a section called Video and Audio Resources. And they have background information and even more performance excerpts from the Cristofori piano.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff there. You can actually hear it. And there's this specific YouTube link where you can see Jeff Spurgeon. He's from the Met's Department of Musical Instruments. And he talks about the Cristofori piano and his experience of hearing it.
So is this instrument, is it still playable?
Yeah, actually. I mean, it's been restored, and it is played occasionally by professional musicians. But, I mean, it's very fragile and old, obviously. So it's not something they can, just have people playing all the time.
Right.
But it is played occasionally, and that's why we have those recordings and things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's over 300 years old to think that it still works.
Right, and it's not the only one, but it's one of very few.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they think Cristofori built about 20 pianos during his career.
Okay.
But only 3 of them survive today.
Wow.
And this 1720 model at the Met is considered the best preserved.
Wow. That's incredible. It really shows you how special and rare it is.
Right. It's a testament to his craftsmanship and the care that's been taken to preserve it.
Exactly. Okay, so we know where it is, what it sounds like. Now, the big question, why? Why did Cristofori invent the piano in the first place?
Yeah, what problem was he trying to solve?
Well, from what we can tell from the sources, he really wanted to create a harpsichord that could play both louder and softer.
Okay.
He wanted more dynamic range.
Okay, so with a harpsichord, you can't really control the volume, right?
Exactly. I mean, no matter how hard or soft you press the keys, the volume's pretty much the same.
Right.
Because the strings are being plucked by these quills, it's a plucking mechanism.
Right.
So, you don't have that control over the volume.
So how did Cristofori change that?
Well, instead of plucking the strings, he devised this mechanism where a hammer would strike the strings.
And the force of that hammer, controlled by how hard you press the key,
Mm-hmm.
would determine the volume.
So that's where the name pianoforte comes from, right?
Exactly.
Soft and loud.
Soft and loud, yeah.
Yeah.
It describes the instrument's ability to vary the volume.
That's amazing. I mean, that's such a fundamental shift in how a keyboard instrument could be played. And, our sources really highlight how revolutionary this was. They talk about how this new ability to control dynamics with a finger stroke, it just opened up so many possibilities for musical expression.
Right. I mean, before the piano, keyboard players didn't have the same kind of expressive control that, say, singers or violinists had.
Right, right.
A singer can change the volume of their voice, make it louder or softer, just by, changing how they're singing.
Right.
And a violinist can get a huge range of dynamics just from how they're using the bow. But keyboard players, they didn't have that.
Yeah.
So the piano really gave them this whole new level of expressive control.
Yeah, because suddenly they could, shape the music in a way they couldn't before.
Exactly. They could make it louder, softer, create these crescendos, diminuendos.
Yeah, like the music could breathe.
Yeah, it could have this emotional depth that just wasn't possible on earlier keyboard instruments.
Right. It's like before it was just on or off, loud or quiet.
Right.
And now it's this whole spectrum.
Yeah. It's almost like going from black and white to color.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's this whole range of possibilities.
Yeah. So, I mean, this invention, it wasn't just a new instrument. It was like the beginning of a whole new era in music.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. All the piano music that we love, from Mozart to, Scott Joplin to Thelonious Monk, it wouldn't exist without this invention.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it that way.
Mhm.
Like this one instrument, and it just changed everything.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's hard to overstate how much of an impact it had.
It's incredible. And it's interesting, the sources also talk about the early mentions of the piano and how even its name sort of evolved over time.
Right, right. So there's this inventory of instruments from 1700,
Okay.
belonging to the Medici family.
Okay.
And in this inventory, there's this listing for an instrument called an arpicimbalo, which is basically like a harpsichord.
Okay.
But it says that it was newly invented by Bartolomeo Cristofori.
Oh, wow.
And it describes it as having hammers and dampers, and 2 keyboards and a 4-octave range.
Wow. So even back then, in 1700, he had already figured out the basic mechanism of the piano.
Right. And so it had hammers to strike the strings, dampers to stop the strings from vibrating when you release the key.
Right.
2 keyboards, I guess, for more versatility.
Yeah.
And a 4-octave range, which was pretty wide for the time.
Yeah. And then later on in 1711, Scipione Maffei, this writer, he wrote about Cristofori's invention, and he called it a gravicembalo col piano e forte.
Right. And that's actually the first time we see that name, pianoforte, in print.
Oh, so he's the one who gave it that name.
Yeah, essentially.
That's amazing. So Maffei's writing helped to popularize the name.
Yeah, it seems so. And then there's this inscription by a musician named Federico Meccoli.
Okay.
He was a musician at the Florentine court, and he wrote that this arpicimbalo del pianoforte was first made in the year 1700.
So we actually have a pretty precise birth date for the piano.
Yeah, it's amazing. We can trace it back to that year.
That's incredible. I mean, it really solidifies Cristofori's place as the inventor of the piano.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's the one who came up with the hammer action.
Yeah.
He solved all the mechanical challenges
Yeah.
and created this instrument that would change music forever.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, the first surviving piano, built in 1720 by Bartolomeo Cristofori, is at the Met in New York City.
That's right.
It sounds softer and more delicate than modern pianos, and it represents a kind of bridge between the harpsichord and the piano that we know today. And Cristofori's big innovation was that he wanted to give keyboard players more control over dynamics.
Yeah, he wanted them to be able to play softly and loudly and everything in between.
Exactly, and he achieved that with the hammer action, which led to the name pianoforte, or soft and loud.
And it's just incredible how this one invention had such a huge impact on the history of music.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine what music would be like without the piano?
It's hard to even imagine.
It's amazing.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder about all the other seemingly small inventions that have had a huge impact on our lives.
Right.
I mean, we take so much for granted.
We do.
So yeah, maybe go listen to some music on an early piano and then listen to some modern piano music.
Yeah?
And just think about the journey that music has taken, all thanks to that first harpsichord with soft and loud.
It's an incredible story.
It really is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.